The galaxy had known peace, or at least a fragile stasis, for millennia. It was a peace dictated by the Cathar hegemony, an empire whose reach spanned 1,000 star systems, whose fleets were legendary and whose arrogance was boundless. They were the architects of galactic order, and in their eyes, every other species was either a client state, a conquered territory, or an insignificant speck awaiting assimilation. Humanity, confined to its single, resource-depleted solar system, was firmly in the latter category. For generations, humanity had toiled, clawing its way back from the brink of ecological collapse, rebuilding its shattered homeworld and daring to gaze at the stars. When first contact came, it wasn't with open arms, but with the cold, dismissive gaze of a Cathar scout fleet. They saw a species struggling, a nascent spacefaring civilization with rudimentary FTL drives and a fleet of ships that were, by Cathar standards, little more than glorified cargo haulers. They offered us a place in their vast empire, as a protectorate, a source of raw materials, and a minor labor force. We politely declined. That defiance, that audacity was met with a chilling silence. The Cathar did not tolerate insubordination. They did not understand the human spirit, the stubborn refusal to bend, the innate drive to forge our own path. They saw weakness where there was nascent strength, primitivism where there was untapped potential. They saw a species ripe for a lesson in galactic hierarchy. We knew a confrontation was inevitable. Our scientists, our engineers, our strategists had been working in the shadows, driven by a desperate need for survival. The Cathar had conventional superiority in every metric. Ship numbers, weapon yield, shield strength. We couldn't outproduce them. We couldn't outfight them on their terms. We had to change the terms of engagement entirely. Deep within the classified research facilities orbiting a gas giant shrouded in perpetual storms, Project Chimera was born. Its premise was audacious, bordering on the insane: the manipulation of dark matter. For every known civilization, dark matter was an enigma, a theoretical construct, a cosmic ghost that influenced gravity but remained utterly untouchable, unobservable, unusable. The Cathar, with all their advanced physics, had long dismissed any practical application, deeming it an impossibility. But humanity, in its desperation, often found possibility where others saw none. Dr. Aris Thorne, a theoretical physicist with a penchant for impossible equations, had a breakthrough. It began with subtle gravitational fluctuations, then controlled localized distortions, and finally, a stable, contained field. The implications were staggering. If you could manipulate dark matter, you could manipulate the very fabric of space-time. You could create propulsion systems that didn't just bend space, but folded it, allowing instantaneous transit across vast distances. And if you could manipulate it, you could weaponize it. The first dark matter drive was a marvel, a whisper of impossible speed. The first dark matter weapon was a terrifying whisper of impossible destruction. It didn't generate heat, or kinetic force, or exotic particles. It simply erased. A localized field of dark matter, precisely tuned, could cause conventional matter to simply cease to exist. Not explode, not vaporize, but unravel at a fundamental level, bypassing shields, armor, and even the very bonds of atomic structure. It was the ultimate bypass, a key that unlocked any defense. The Cathar hegemony, growing impatient with our continued independence, finally launched their punitive expedition. A fleet of 200 warships, led by the infamous Grand Admiral Vla, known for his ruthless efficiency and unwavering belief in Cathar supremacy. Their objectives: subjugate Earth, dismantle our fleet, and integrate our species into their empire by force. They expected a swift, decisive victory. They expected us to break. Our fleet, a mere 30 vessels, was deployed to the outer reaches of our system, a seemingly futile gesture of defiance. On the Bridge of the Ages, humanity's flagship, Admiral Lena Petrova watched the approaching Cathar armada on the main view screen. Her face was a mask of calm, but beneath it, a storm of anticipation raged. This was it, the moment of truth. All ships, prepare for engagement. Her voice was steady, cutting through the tension on the bridge. Activate Project Chimera protocols. Full power to dark matter emitters. The Cathar fleet, a vast, glittering array of warships, opened fire first. Conventional energy blasts, kinetic slugs, and plasma torpedoes streaked towards the human line. Our shields flared, absorbing the initial volley, but it was clear we couldn't withstand a sustained assault. Then, Admiral Petrova gave the order that would echo through galactic history. Fire. There was no blinding flash, no thunderous roar. From the bow of the Aegis and its sister ships, a faint, almost imperceptible shimmer emanated, a ripple in the void. These were the dark matter projectors focusing their impossible energy. The Cathar lead destroyer, the Vanguard of Valar, was in the crosshairs. Its shields, designed to deflect energy and kinetic impacts, held firm. Its reinforced hull, capable of shrugging off planetary bombardments, seemed impregnable. But the dark matter beam didn't impact it. It simply passed through. A section of the Vanguard's bridge, then its primary weapon arrays, then a swathe of its engineering section, simply vanished. Not exploded, not melted, but gone. The ship didn't even have time to register a critical hit before it began to unravel, whole sections winking out of existence, leaving behind perfect geometric voids in its structure. Within seconds, the mighty destroyer was a collection of disconnected, inert fragments, its crew extinguished without a trace. Silence descended upon the Cathar comms. Grand Admiral Vlar, observing from his flagship, the Imperator, watched in stunned disbelief. His sensors registered nothing. No energy signature, no exotic particle emissions, no conventional weapon fire. Just absence. What in the void was that? Vlar roared, his multi-jointed limbs tensing. Report! What happened to the Vanguard? His tactical officers stammered, their readouts showing only a sudden, inexplicable loss of mass. Admiral, there's no trace. It just ceased to be. The human fleet pressed its advantage. The dark matter weapons, precise and devastating, carved through the Cathar formation. A Cathar cruiser, its shields at full power, found its engines simply gone. A battleship, its heavy armor boasting centuries of combat experience, had its entire port side vanish, exposing its internal decks to the vacuum. The Cathar fleet, built on the principle of overwhelming conventional force, found itself utterly defenseless against the threat it couldn't comprehend, let alone counter. Panic began to ripple through the Cathar ranks. Their disciplined formations broke. Ships veered wildly, trying to evade the invisible death that stalked them. But evasion was futile. The dark matter drives allowed human ships to reposition with impossible speed, appearing seemingly out of nowhere, delivering a surgical strike and then vanishing again. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution. Within hours, the Cathar punitive fleet, once the symbol of their galactic dominance, was reduced to a scattered debris field. Grand Admiral Vlar, his Imperator crippled and adrift, watched as the human fleet, virtually unscathed, began its methodical sweep of the battlefield. His arrogance had shattered, replaced by a cold, existential dread. Humanity hadn't just won a battle, they had rewritten the rules of war. The news of the Cathar defeat spread like wildfire across the galaxy. species that had long suffered under the hegemony's iron fist, or those who had simply watched from the sidelines, were stunned. The impossible had happened. A minor species, dismissed as primitive, had not only stood against the mighty Cthar, but had utterly annihilated their fleet with a technology no one else even dreamed of. The Cthar hegemony, for the first time in millennia, was truly shaken. Their military doctrine, their technological superiority, their very understanding of the universe had been rendered obsolete in a single brutal engagement. They scrambled to understand, to replicate, to counter. But dark matter manipulation wasn't something you reverse engineered from wreckage. It was a fundamental leap in understanding, a paradigm shift that only human ingenuity, born of desperation and a refusal to yield, had achieved. Humanity didn't seek to replace the Cthar as the new galactic overlords. Our victory wasn't about conquest, but about self-determination. We used our newfound technological advantage not to subjugate, but to dismantle the hegemony's oppressive grip, targeting their strategic command centers, their logistical hubs, and their primary shipyards with surgical precision. We showed them that while we possess the power to erase, we also possess the wisdom to choose restraint. We forced them to the negotiating table, not as conquerors, but as equals, demanding a new galactic order based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. The galaxy had changed. The old balance, dictated by brute force and conventional might, was shattered. In its place, a new era dawned, one where ingenuity, adaptability, and the sheer indomitable will of humanity had carved out a place among the stars. We had been underestimated, dismissed, and threatened. But in the crucible of desperation, humanity had forged a future, not just for ourselves, but for a galaxy finally free to breathe. If you found this story of human ingenuity inspiring, make sure to hit that like button and tell us in the comments, what's your favorite sci-fi game that truly captures the spirit of human resilience? This is Apex Fleet HFY, signing off.